So one of the biggest things I learned this past season was make sure you put disciplines in place right away. Don't wait for you to have a bigger business, have more lawns, even if you're just starting off doing part-time, or you're doing it full-time and you just didn't get as many lawns as you wanted to or expected the first year, so you don't really have a whole lot to juggle. And you think, when I get bigger and I get more established, then I'll do certain things and start establishing certain disciplines. Don't wait until then, until you have time, or until you get bigger, because then you won't have time, and you'll be behind the eight ball with those disciplines, and trying to start to develop good habits after the fact. So start them now, as soon as possible, at least after the first year, if you haven't already. But just different things like waking up early, every morning. You own your own business, you're your own boss. You feel like you just want to sleep in and do your own thing. You don't have to, punch in. You don't have to use a time clock to punch in. You don't have a boss, watching the clock and giving you a hard time for being 3 minutes late or something like that. So you just want to take advantage of it, sleep in, get started whenever you feel like it. But then you start establishing bad routines and bad habits, and you get done later in the day than you could have if you started earlier. And as you start getting more work and more customers, more lawns, your day gets extended and it's harder for you to finish up, at a reasonable time. And then in the fall, when the days are shorter, then you don't have as much time, and now you're scrambling trying to get all your work done every day because you're so used to sleeping in and just kind of, going about your day whenever, however you feel like it, without a sense of urgency. So wake up early, start this habit right away. Start your day as soon as possible, have a sense of urgency, and just get your stuff done. You'll be done sooner, and you can have more time before the sun goes down and do things with your family or do things on your own, whatever it is you enjoy doing, so on and so on. So that's just one of many disciplines, having some sort of software program to schedule, to have your invoices taken care of, to schedule all your work, etc. You can do all those things by hand if you want, and that's a good foundation to kind of know the concepts behind it. But the more customers you get, the more tedious it's going to be. When you come home at night after a long day, the last thing you want to do is fill out all these invoices by hand. And if you have a program that does it for you, just a few simple clicks, if that, depending on what software program you have, and you can just knock it out right away. So there's a lot of free programs out there, and there's a lot that aren't free. I currently have a program called Invoice to Go that I use. It's a cloud-based. You can use it anywhere on your computer, any device that you have, etc. And it's easy to use on the fly while you're out on the jobs, and it's great. But I did have to pay for that, and it's good for my business now. But I'm already looking at some other options for when my business starts to outgrow the program I have now, so that way I'm not doing that when I need it. I'm looking ahead of the game so that I can make sure that I'm prepared for when the time comes when my business does start to outgrow it, and then I can move on to something else. So those are just a few different disciplines that I pointed out, but I'm sure there's a couple disciplines I pointed out, but there's more out there that you guys, I'm sure, already know about or don't know about or will learn as you go along the way. But just definitely make sure that you establish these routines and these habits right away if you haven't already, and just focus on that this year, because you just have to get those disciplines down now when you don't have a lot of work and you're not as busy as you will be next year and the year after and the year after. So you just got to focus on getting your disciplines set first. The yards that you have are the yards that you're going to attract. So just remember that when you're on a yard that is more weeds than grass, sometimes more dirt than anything else. It's just not the best looking yard in the neighborhood. That's what you're going to attract. As the neighbors are driving by and walking by, running by with their dogs and so on, and they're looking at you, and they might be thinking, wow, he's doing a great job with that, not so nice looking yard. Or they could be thinking, wow, I feel bad for that guy because that yard is a mess. whatever they're thinking, for the most part, they're not thinking, wow, I want him to come, you know, right after that yard with his machine and just come right on over to my beautiful, lush, thick green yard and cut my yard, you know, because they're thinking like, you know, you're gonna track weeds and dirt and, you know, they're not thinking the same way as they are. They're not thinking to that yard the same way as they're thinking of their yard. And you might be doing a good job at that yard, but you know what? Those yards that I've been at, I've only gotten more yards like that. The neighbors and whoever that stops me, you know, driving by or whatever, they ask me to come take a look at their yards, and their yards are the same, if not worse. You know, some crazy like hills and slopes and holes and tree roots coming out and branches and stuff everywhere and rocks, and it's just, you know, it's just a hassle, and it's not an enjoyable experience. But you decide which yards you want. You know, it's your decision. You're the boss, so you pick what you want, what kind of customers you want, what kind of yards you want. You know, you just have to figure out what you want to do, and as far as what customers and yards you want, and why do you want them. And that's all totally up to you. But just remember, in the beginning, you know, we take on probably anything that comes our way. We advertise, you know, our friends advertise for us, family advertise for us, and we try and get whatever we can to get our business going. But as our business starts growing and we start getting more and more customers, we have to start being more selective, and you know, fine-tuning our routes and fine-tuning our yards, and you know, the ones that are either too far away, they're not profitable for one reason or another, or they're just not nice yards for one reason or another. A lot of weeds, dirt, all the different things I previously mentioned. Maybe the customers nitpick over every little thing in addition to all that other stuff. So it's just not worth your time even dealing with that yard or a few yards like that. Then try and replace those yards with the yards you want. So once you have a good foundation going, and it's probably a mix of good yards and not so good yards, you can start getting yards that you want and really fine-tuning your marketing efforts and going after certain neighborhoods and certain yards. And then you can start you know, discontinuing your service for the yards that you don't want. It's going to take a little bit of time, might not happen your first year, but you just got to keep that mentality so that you can keep going in the direction that you want to go. You should definitely know how to do basic maintenance on your equipment. At least your big, if you have a commercial mower or any kind of mower, the bigger the mower, the more points, grease points and different parts there are to it that have to be maintained regularly. If you have a belt drive, walk behind, or any other kind of mower, you know, that you have to adjust the belts, brakes, you have to grease different things, you know, you have to do oil changes, change oil filters, air filters, all those things, change your blades, sharpen your blades. You know, you don't have to do all these things yourself. You can just go to your dealer and they can do all those things, but then you're going to pay them a lot more than if you did it yourself. So figure out what you want to do, what you can do. Not all of us are as mechanically inclined as others, but a lot of these things are real simple. You know, save the manuals for all of your equipment. You know, I have them all together, so you know, and I read them all when I get something new. You just want to save yourself the time and the money for the basic maintenance. Obviously, if there's something wrong with your engine on your mower or something like that, that's major, and you don't have the time or the knowledge to fix that, I mean, you know, that's more of a major thing, so you definitely want to go to your dealer for that. But the basic stuff, you want to be able to take care of it, especially when you're on the fly and you're out on the job. Let me just give you a quick example. Like, I was out the first yard of the day, and I noticed that, you know, I was in the front yard, and I noticed that there was some little streaks of, like, you know, some strips of grass being kind of like smoothed out, like ripped out, and it was just getting stuck on the front, one of the front caster wheels, and I was like, why is this wheel getting stuck and not spinning? And I'm like cleaning the junk out, and I'm trying to pull on it, and it's just not budging. I'm like, oh, this isn't right. So I just went ahead and slowly brought it right back over to my truck. I got my grease gun out of my truck, which I keep with me, just with a bunch of other miscellaneous tools, just in case I ever need it. Greased that caster wheel real good and started spinning it little by little, it loosened up, and then it was as good as new after, 30 seconds or so of fiddling around with it. Went on and finished his yard, and continued the rest of my day. Never had to skip a beat, didn't have to stop and go all the way home, to get the grease gun, or not even know what the problem was, and have to go to the dealer and have them take a look at it, and they might not even have had time, have to drop it off, and my whole day might have been shot. So that's such a minor thing that could have been a major thing, but I was able to just fix it in a matter of minutes, because of the little bit of knowledge that I acquired from playing around with my stuff and reading the manuals, and just trying to think and problem solve right there on the spot before I panicked and just threw money out the window, by going to the dealer or whatever. So just focus on the basics. The biggest thing about having equipment is just remember to not get ahead of yourself. Just only use what you need, only buy what you need. Use what you have. If you only have a push mower and some residential stuff, trimmer, etc., then just use that. When I started out, I had a Jeep and a push mower and a Ryobi residential trimmer and handheld gas blower, and that's all I had, and that's what I used for my own yard and my house, and it did just fine. And when I started doing lawns part-time, that's what I did in the back of my Jeep, and it worked for what I was doing. But I knew that as I was going to start growing and getting more customers and try and take my business full-time, that I was going to need to step it up, and I was going to need to get bigger and better equipment, and get some commercial equipment that's going to last for the long haul and have longer warranties, and be able to stand up to the wear and tear. But I only got stuff as I needed it. So the biggest thing that I needed was a commercial mower. I needed a walk behind or a stander or whatever. I didn't even know what I needed. I just knew that I couldn't keep mowing these bigger yards that I was getting with a 21-inch push mower. My mower was getting old, it was getting beat up, so if anything I needed to buy a new one of those before anything else. I definitely needed something new. So I went ahead and I got a 48-inch Toro walk behind mower. Belt drive, saved me money. It works great. I got a bell key eventually to put on that mid-season, so I can stand on it and just zip along in some of the bigger wide open yards, save my feet and save my time, and keeps my productivity high, so I'm not getting tired and fatigued and walking slower behind the mower, and the mower isn't dragging me along, behind it, instead of just standing on it and zipping along. So that's why I got that, and it really was very helpful. But so I just got, I got that midway through the season. So you just get things as you need them. Don't take out, loans. You can do whatever you want, obviously, but I'm just saying I didn't want to take out loans or, borrow all this money for all this stuff that I didn't need. I knew I needed a trailer and a truck, because, I didn't want to be pulling a trailer with my Jeep. I just wanted to get certain things that I needed. So I traded in my Jeep for a truck, so I didn't pay anything. I had to pay for the trailer, but I just got a nice 5x10 trailer, nothing too big. It fits, everything that I need, wood floor, so it holds more support. I just got what I needed. I thought, 5 years into the future of what I would still need then, and, carrying mulch in my trailer, and what kind of trailer do I need, what kind of equipment am I going to have in it, what services am I going to offer other than just mowing lawns, and so on. So those were the things that I thought about, and those were the things that I focused on, and those were the things that made me purchase what I needed to purchase when I needed to purchase them. So, but I did start out with whatever I had, and that worked fine to a point. And then as I needed more stuff, I got more stuff. So I got a truck, I got a trailer, I got a walk behind. I still have the same 21-inch push mower, but I am going to get a 30-inch Toro Turf Master, just because the 21-inch push just isn't doing it anymore. It's just going to have to be a backup. It's just getting old, so I need the power and the larger deck to increase my productivity, or at least maintain my productivity. So that's why I'm getting the 30-inch Toro. I've heard a lot of good things. I've seen it. My dealer talks about it. I have faith that it's gonna be a great machine, and it's gonna complete my fleet. And then I got a steel trimmer, so that I could upgrade from the Ryobi, because the Ryobi just wasn't as powerful as I needed to be able to just keep going yard to yard to yard and doing so many different things. You know, the steel is so versatile. I mean, I got a trimmer, hedge trimmer shears that I put on the end of that. I, swap out the gear heads and I put the hedge ones on there, so that saved me a piece of equipment instead of getting a combi attachment system or getting two separate sticks, one for trimming hedges and one for trimming grass or whatever. I just have one, with a powerful enough mower, and I just swap them out when I need to. I don't trim hedges that often. You only do them 2 or 3 times a year depending on the customer's preference. So the few times I swap it out, it's enough. It wasn't enough for me to go buy, hedge trimmers separately, and I got the ones that attach on the stick, so this way I can get the long reach and I can get the big bushes. I have customers with some really big hedges, so I needed that. So again, you just really just get what you need when you need it. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't go into debt if you can help it, and just buy what you need. And I got a backpack blower as well, because I knew I was gonna be doing a lot of leaves, and doing leaves with the handheld, it's just gonna be tiresome after a while when you're doing more than 1 yard. These are things that I needed for my business, so I got them, and I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm not gonna get more things than I need, and that's just really what I've learned. Is to do that and to continue doing that. And whenever I start to think otherwise, like, oh, let me get a standard, or let me get this, just don't get, I gotta remind myself, don't get ahead of yourself. First of all, you don't even have the money for that, and even if you did, you don't wanna just waste it on things like that. Just focus on what you need to focus on, and just keep it simple, and just stick to what you need. We all know about dog waste. I don't think there's anyone that loves it. We all hate it. It's a nuisance. It's just a pain. So you can choose what you want to do with that situation. It's always going to be a factor in this business, but you can choose to deal with it in certain ways. In my research, over the years, I remember coming across a website that actually posted on their website that they don't even service a yard if they don't clean up after their animals. So I thought that was pretty bold of them. They even made a statement like something along the lines of, you wouldn't want us to track someone else's dog waste into your yard, so why would you have us do that to someone else, or whatever. But basically, that was just their little spin on it. And I see them around town, and they obviously have business, and so it's not affecting their business in a negative way, and they're probably fine-tuning the customers that they're getting. They're only getting the customers that either clean up after their dogs or don't have dogs at all, and that's what they want. They don't want to deal with the other stuff, and good for them. It's a real bold move. I haven't heard or seen much of that, but that's what they do. They absolutely refuse those customers. But then there's other more popular avenues, which is where you charge a premium. I've seen comments on YouTube, people saying that their business or their company that they work for, they charge the customer a $10 or whatever it is extra premium for the dog waste, and they go out and they clean it up before they even start mowing, so that they don't have to get it in their tires and so on. Depending on what you want to do, you can do that, or you can just still charge them a $10 premium, not clean up the dog waste, try and avoid it. It's going to take you a little more time when you're doing the cut, and if you still get some in your tires, then it takes you a little bit of time, obviously, to clean that out while you're still in the yard before you get on the trailer and go to another yard and get the dog waste in that yard and in your truck and in your boots and all that. It's not something that anyone wants to deal with. It's not pleasant. So the route I'm going to go is I'm going to charge a premium for certain customers, because again, you got to look at your customers, and some of you might not even have this problem, and you guys are the lucky ones. But I think most of us are dealing with it in one way or another, and we just deal with it. But some of my yards, I don't want to deal with it anymore. So my solution is to charge them, a premium, and they're either going to they're going to clean it up themselves, so they don't have to pay an extra premium. 2, they're going to say okay and pay the premium, and then I'll either attempt to clean up myself before I mow, or I'll just try and avoid it as much as I can while I'm mowing, and then whatever I get on my tires, clean it off before I go, and at least I'm getting the extra premium for my time, the extra time that it takes while I'm there. Or 3, they just don't even want to be bothered with me at all because they took offense or whatever. You know, some people treat their pets like they're their kids, and you know, they get offended, and you know, they just don't even want to be bothered with anything. They don't want to clean up after their pet, and they don't want to pay a premium, and they're insulted that I even brought the idea up. So they'll just have someone else take care of their yard. And all three of those things really is a win-win scenario. But again, you have to do that for the right yards, and you have to explain the right reasons to these customers, and just tell them that, you know, it's not just because it's a pain for me, and I don't like being stinky and having stinky boots and all that stuff, and it's messy. You just want to focus on your business and say, it will affect my other customers. I don't want to bring your dog's waste on my mower tires into another customer's yard. That might affect my business. I might lose business if I do that. So I cannot do that. So this is why either you have to clean it up or I have to clean it up. But if I have to clean it up, then I'm charging you a premium. And as simple as that. So just remember that, you know, and some yards don't even have to do that, you know, because I have some customers, they clean up after their dogs anyway because they're just so particular and they're embarrassed and everything. And some other customers, their dogs are real tiny, and you know, they don't really have a whole lot. They don't really leave a lot of waste anyway. And if they do, you can usually avoid it. And if you go over it, it doesn't even usually get in your tires or that much because it's so small. And you can just clean it up real quick if it does get in your tires. So it's not even worth even bringing it up to those customers, because you don't want to risk losing those customers, because you know, those are the customers that have the nice lawns and they pay you on time. And I have some of them that are grouped together on the same street, so if I lost one, I'd probably lose them all, and then they might, you know, spread, you know, bad word of mouth. So you want to be careful with who you address this with. But the customers that, you know, the one customer I have, they have 3 dogs, and they're all different sizes, from a small dog to a Great Dane, and they just let them run around the backyard, and they just drop bombs all day, every day. And there's no way they could probably keep up with cleaning it. I totally understand, but I have to. They want me to mow, and it's unavoidable, and it gets all in my tires, and it's just slowing me down because I don't want to bring all that to the next yard. So that's the kind of customer that I'm gonna, you know, charge an extra premium, and they're either gonna, like I said, they're either gonna accept that, or they're gonna, you know, decline my service. And either way, that's a win, because I'm either gonna make more money and deal with it, or I'm gonna not have to deal with it at all and find another customer that doesn't have all that dog waste in their backyard to replace them. So just remember that it's all about what you make acceptable.